This is from CNBC International. The title, this is a 3D printed new Rembrandt by CNBC International. So if you haven't heard the story, this group got together, they wanted to recreate a Rembrandt using artificial intelligence and to 3D print it. And I think once we see the painting here, you'll understand why that's a problem. So.
This is a brand new Rembrandt painting, and no, it wasn't found hidden in an attic somewhere. It was in fact 3D printed.
So if you don't already see the problem, yeah, we'll carry on.
This isn't merely replication though. For 18 months, technicians, academics and art historians pored over 346 of the Dutch master's works, built an algorithm, and then a program created a whole new piece of art in the Rembrandt style. The subject was also decided digitally, a Caucasian male between 30 and 40 years old, with facial hair and wearing dark clothing. Pixel data became impasto data, mimicking brushstrokes and paint thickness.
See, the problem with this, the problem with doing it in this way, is they chose 346 paintings. That's so many paintings. And what the machine is doing is it's just kind of taking the aggregate, or it's taking the combination of all these different paintings and trying to create something out of that. So you're not really getting the best qualities of Rembrandt. You're not getting the best subject or the best motif. You're not going to get the best painterly qualities or the most compelling portrait either. So it just, tends towards the mediocre, or towards, those qualities that aren't really what sets Rembrandt apart. It's just a combination of all these different things. It's not going to be a really great portrait, if you know what I mean.
The end result? 148 billion pixels were printed in 13 layers of UV ink. But while science may be able to replicate Rembrandt's genius, it might not be able to replicate price tags. After all, two very real Rembrandts were recently sold for $176 million.
If you're going to use AI and try to make, paintings to compete with the greatest painters of all time, you're going to have to do better than that. There's just something there which isn't human, something there which is very boring, I guess. It's not the human eye, it's not made with love. It looks like it's made by a machine in many ways, and it's not going to be able to compete with these great works of Rembrandt or other Renaissance masters. So I think now this is the complete story. This is the full story of the painting. I forgot what it was called, but this project I think was called the Next Rembrandt. So yeah, published by the Next Rembrandt, title of the video, the Next Rembrandt. So we'll see. Maybe this will give more information about how they went through this process and what they really did in order to create this 3D printed painting.
One of his great achievements, one of Rembrandt's great achievements, was to portray human emotions in a much more convincing way than artists had before him, and in many ways for all time.
See, I don't think that's really the best quality of Rembrandt per se. Maybe if you involve that in the storytelling component and all these effects in total, but I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something here. But as far as just expressions go, things like that, I mean, you already had so many other masters before Rembrandt that's just a really weak point. No offense to this guy or anything, but there's so many other qualities you can find in Rembrandt where he did actually improve upon the past masters.
At ING we believe in the power of innovation, what it can mean to people. We want to bring this innovative spirit to our sponsorship of Dutch art and culture. We knew that for this challenge we needed to team up with experts from various fields to make this come to life.
So this is where it becomes very interesting, in my view, is who they actually chose as these so-called experts and what they're bringing to the table, because that's going to determine ultimately what the program is actually searching for. If they're relying on these experts to relay that information to the design team or whoever is actually building the project, that's going to determine what ultimately gets considered.
Using a lot of data to improve business life. But we haven't been using data that much in a way that touches the human soul. You could say that we use technology and data, like Rembrandt used his paints and his brushes to create something new.
They always got to do that. Gathering
The first
the
step
data.
was to study the works of Rembrandt in order to create an extensive database. We gathered the data from his collection of paintings from many different sources, including 3D scans and upscale images using a deep learning algorithm.
See, again, you know, what paintings are they choosing? If they're choosing to make a portrait, and that's what they want to make a really compelling portrait, why would they have all these other compositions and all these other paintings to be studied?
Because a significant percentage of Rembrandt paintings were portraits, we analyzed the demography of the faces in these paintings, looking at factors like gender, age, and head direction. The data led us to the conclusion that the subject should be a portrait of a Caucasian male with facial hair between 30 and 40 years old, in dark clothing with a collar, wearing a hat, and facing to the right.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much what anybody could tell you. If you're going to look for the sort of Dutch style, and when you consider what was going on or where you might get commissions at the time, of course that's going to be a very common portrait. That doesn't mean you're really striving for what's best. I guess I'm not entirely sure what the goal of the project is. I guess to make something that looks like it could be a Rembrandt. What was the goal? What was the goal here? That's what I wonder about, because if your goal is to make the best portrait, you're trying to make the best Rembrandt portrait. Let's see. Every single one of these portraits on screen right now would have been tossed out. You wouldn't use any of those. I mean, come on. What is the idea here? That's what I'm curious
From
about.
there, we started to extract features only with faces that were related to that specific profile.
Okay, so they did choose to only use those sort of portraits that fit within that category. That's what I was wondering about, because why would you use, you know, like they had a seascape painting up on the screen before, and why would you use that? I understand that they're doing it for dramatics of the video and whatever, but it's a little bit funny.
Create a whole painting from just data, and we used statistical analysis and various algorithms to extract the features that make Rembrandt Rembrandt.
So this result that you're going to get, I suppose it's to be expected. If your goal is to just, you know, take the average of Rembrandt, you're going to end up with the average of Rembrandt portraits. So it's not like you're doing anything really great, in my opinion.
After generating the features, we were focusing on the face proportions. We used an algorithm that can detect over 60 points in a painting. We were able to align the faces and to estimate the distance between the eyes, the nose, and the mouth and the ears.
We incorporated the height map into the painting and printed on a 3D printer that uses a special paint-based UV ink. It printed many layers, one on top of the other, which resulted in the height and texture of the final painting.
It's sometimes a magical moment to see a painting for the first time, even if it's computer generated. For me, it is something special. I would have believed if I saw it in a museum that it would have been a real Rembrandt.
I see some other problems which they may not have thought about. So you can tell, I mean, there's just something about the painting that it doesn't feel right. It feels off. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the expression in the face, if it's the clothes. There's something about the painting that doesn't feel right.
It will be interesting to see Rembrandt looking at it, but I think he will be happy.
The Next Rembrandt makes you think about where innovation can take us. What's next?
So there you have it. That's the Next Rembrandt project, and I guess I would be curious to see a different painting being made with, you know, other goals in mind and other criteria, but at the end of the day, it's very difficult to really cheat the human eye, to trick the human eye, and making a painting with a machine just kind of defeats a lot of the purpose and the power that you get out of painting. So yeah, thank you for watching and have a great rest of your day.